Hey, howdy, friends. It's Steve DePoe here with the Rose Realty team with this week's real estate vlog for North Texas. Today, our topic is 55 plus communities in North Texas. So 55 plus communities in North Texas is really kind of popping up all over the place. Between communities that are single family standalone homes, to condos and villas and townhouses, to more of apartment living and assisted living type of thing. We'll get into all that in a second. But I think because of the fact that we've got so many people moving into North Texas on a yearly basis, the infrastructure, if you will, for the 55 plus communities has to grow as well, because what a lot of families do is we want mom and dad by us, or we want grandma and grandpa in the area. And so in order to accommodate them, they have to, or certain companies and organizations are building more and more 55 plus communities and 55 plus sites, if you will. And they're to accommodate mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. But let's kind of get into it. So this picture that you see in here, all these red dots are existing 55 plus communities throughout North Texas. And I'm going to be honest with you, they represent maybe 60% of the communities in North Texas. So you multiply this by almost another half, and we can see how many 55 plus communities there are. So let's talk about the different categories for a second, okay? So first you have active adult, okay? Now active adult, if you're familiar with the area, we're talking about Ropes and Ranch, Frisco Lakes, and Ladera, okay? There's also Watermere, Vista, Razor Ranch, and Autumn Oaks, okay? Now, the U.S. Housing Department says that 80% of the residents in these communities, at least one of the persons in the family or in the house or the apartment or the whatever, has to be over 55. So that's sort of the fair housing law says that. They would supply less maintenance, so it's less maintenance to you. You generally speaking, they're right-sized, and you'll be around your peers, and there's going to be different levels of amenities. Okay, so what's comfortable about 55 plus communities is really that peer thing, as far as I'm concerned, is that you have peers who experience the same experiences that you have in your life, whether it's sports or music or the war or something like that. Or 75-cent gas. Okay, the peer aspect is really kind of neat, because you've experienced the same things. The assisted living kind of community in Denton County, for example, is Willow Bend, Mayberry Gardens, and Carriage House. These often what these communities offer is more services to the residents. So a chef's going to prepare, or a cook's going to prepare, like 3 meals a day. You're going to have housekeeping. There's going to be clean living spaces, trained caregivers on site for different levels of what of what you need. And then there's going to be, some assistance for daily tasks like picking up and maybe daily stuff like maybe bathing if you need it, or light housekeeping. And typically there's somebody on site that's a program or entertainment kind of manager, is sort of the norm. Before we go any further, hey, Rose and I would love if you could, you're on our YouTube website. Go to Moving to Dallas, okay, at Moving to Dallas on YouTube, and subscribe and like our channel. We'd really appreciate that. Okay, and then senior care, okay, is like another step up, you may want to call it. In our area here, there's Eagle Ridge, Brookdale, Fairhaven, and Rosewood. And these typically are for people with, I'm going to say, memory problems. So we're talking about memory care, Alzheimer's, cognitive issues, maybe some form of dementia. Okay, and these people typically are going to require more hands-on kind of care, help maybe with their meds, maybe to keep them kind of mentally active. There's going to be activities during the course of the day that they're going to be able to participate in, to kind of keep them active and keep their mind kind of sharp, or as sharp as possible at this point, and moving forward. These kinds of facilities oftentimes have a Medicare or Medicaid kind of component to them, okay, where they might pay, part of the rent, but the senior care is sort of further on, and in sort of like the care kind of thing. So let's kind of go back to, if you will, that first kind of topic that we had, which was the active adult. Okay, so when we start talking about the active adult, you have to, the way you sort of analyze which active adult community is best for you, you have to be sort of honest with your lifestyle needs. Okay, and we'll get to that in a second. Look at the community's financials. Make sure that the community is, number one, a solvent, and number two, how much they charge you for stuff. Okay, so are the HOA bills going to be too high for you? And because they're going to go up every year, and they're going to soon price you out, or are you comfortable with what you're paying? Find out what the rules are, in terms of pets and overnight guests and number of people in your suite. Kind of find out what those kinds of rules are. If you have a standalone house, what the sort of what the maintenance and the qualifications are for, for shrubs, and what color you can paint your door. I mean, some HOAs are really, really restrictive. Okay. Evaluate the transportation needs, depending on where you're located. Okay. You could be located, kind of far out there, where you're going to need a car, and maybe there's not mass transportation to take you to and fro, and maybe the facility doesn't have, bus service or a taxi service, and maybe you're calling a taxi or an Uber all the time, and that just kind of adds to your expenses. Okay, know what your budget is. Okay, I know that Watermere is a fantastic facility, but their HOA is a smidge high, but they do supply you with 3 squares a day, and sort of like a little expense account. And when you kind of figure out the budget, it kind of comes out to a good, kind of a good, fair, inequitable price. And then visit the community several times so you understand what it's about, who the people are, what it's like living there. A place like here, like a Robeson Ranch, they have what's called a VIP program. Give me a call, I can set you up. But they have sort of a VIP program where you're able to stay for like, I think it's 3 days and 4 nights, or the other way around, for like $200. Okay, you're going to have to sit through a presentation, which is good because you get a better understanding of the community. But you also get to stay there, for 3 days, and you get to meet people, and you'll meet me and Rose, and you get to see what the community's like. So it pays to kind of do something like that, so you have a better understanding of the community. Let's talk about Ladera communities, for example. There's a number of them throughout the Metroplex, and they're really popular. There's a newer one up in Prosper. It's called Ladera at Prosper. They have single family standalone homes. There's Ladera at the Reserve down in Mansfield, and there's Ladera at Little Elm. Okay. Now, if you search each one of those terms, I actually have a landing page or a website dedicated to each one of those 3. You can take a look at those, and it'll tell you a lot more information. Then there's Ladera at Tavola Park, which is in Fort Worth, and there's also Ladera in Rockwell. So Ladera communities, for example, just to give you an example, is typically 2 or 3 bedrooms. Okay, there's 2 or 3 bedroom models. They run roughly around 1,600 square feet to almost 3,000. Okay, usually more. They have about 12 models that are 1 story, and I think there's a couple of models that are 1.5 or 2 stories. Right. There's an open concept kind of kitchen kind of deal going on there, and many of them have a study or or an office. On site, there's a pool, there's tennis and pickleball. There's a community center and walking trails, and there's a fitness center and a meeting space. Ladera, for example, does not have an on-site golf course, but they have affiliations with golf courses in the communities. And here's where we want to start talking about being honest about your needs. I kind of mentioned a couple of minutes ago. If you're a big golfer, okay, and you really want to live in a golf course community, then you're probably talking about like a Frisco Lakes or a Ropes and Ranch. But if you're a big golfer and you don't really need to live in a golf course community, because Ladera has affiliations with other golf courses in the area, that may satisfy your needs. Okay. If you're into pottery and you're into painting and photography, then Ladera doesn't necessarily have that, but Ropes and Ranch and Frisco Lakes does. And so, but it also adds to their expense and doesn't add to the Ladera expense, just as an example. So being honest with what you need in terms of amenities and what kind of lifestyle you want to live is real important. It's a really important conversation to have before you start looking. We have a checklist that we can provide to you about what you're looking for, and to make sure you get the community that you select the right community to visit. So visit them all. I mean, they're all in North Texas, they're all close to one another, but we can supply you with a checklist so that you can kind of look in kind of a memory jogger, you may want to call it, to see what's important to you and make sure again you pick the right community. Kind of hope that helped. We're going to talk about Ladera communities again in the near future, along with Ropes and Ranch and Frisco Lakes. Okay. Coming up next, a really cool topic that has been getting a lot of publicity, you may want to call it, lately. It's ways your real estate agent actually earns his or her commission. And it's really sort of fascinating, because when I talk to even a lot of friends, they say, hey, you open a couple of doors and you make 3%. Well, not really. There's a lot of work involved. And so we want to kind of share that about what we do in order to make our commission on either the buy side or the sell side. And maybe that'll kind of give you a little bit more appreciation about the kind of work that we do and how we what we like to say is we get deals to close. Okay. So that's going to be important. Hey, this is Steve. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm Steve with the Rose Realty team. Take care.